The other aspect here that we want to talk about, obviously, is really understanding then to what we would classify as a sales agreement. And so classically, this is a contract. One thing you'll realize in many software industries as well, there's semantics, obviously, that are involved with this. But really in our system, our sales agreement is really our contract then between us and a grower in this particular example. And the reason we really, yeah,
to
go ahead,
bring that
Cody.
back to some industry parlance, so to
Yeah.
speak. When we think we call it sales agreements, where we sometimes refer to it a contract. Really, this is a booking. This is your standard booking where you're taking orders for products. And the nice thing about the way our system's set up is you very easily also differentiate between those bookings or agreements where you do or don't want to take a payment. We know that some of this, if we're doing a sales agreement / booking for fertilizer, we might need to take a check right away or get that on some sort of financing plan right away and get that a little more locked in. So I just wanted to highlight that our system does give us that flexibility. So sometimes when we're in here talking about sales agreement, just really consider that we are talking the booking structure.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, Cody, because I think the other thing that's really important here is that we're showing each of these data items, right? And this is really, it's to prove, number one, that we have the data structure in place that you can then use to create your reporting off of, but it's also to then understand how they all integrate with each other, right? Because when we have, for example, invoicing that occurs, we may also need that data to report off of as part of that process. So sales agreements are another concept, obviously, that's important for any type of decisions that are going to be made, right? What product quantities have we really agreed to that are in contract that we need to supply? And what are those stipulations, obviously, then with that particular contract, and what's the pricing with it? So obviously, there's a lot of different rules that are involved in here. So when we start talking about LCRs, right? So discounts, any of those different types of pricing impacts that are happening, obviously are going to be reflected inside of a sales agreement. And so really what we want to highlight here, let's go ahead and jump then into, for example, a sales agreement to take a quick look at it. So our plan obviously at some point becomes a sales agreement. As we click on our sales agreements and we go into our details with it, I have an older agreement that I have set up inside of here. And very similar to what we saw inside of the plans, this is where we then have the dollars that are really then basically applied to for those bookings, right? So in this situation, the products that we showed as well that were in that program were also for Pure Farms, for this contract that we have for the chemicals. And we can see the different product quantities and then the prices for those quantities that would then be used obviously for the AR process, right? Because eventually now we have a contract that we have an order or a shipment of that product that's going to occur, and we need to make sure we apply the correct pricing and discounting towards that particular contract. Big thing just to highlight here is kind of the status changes that you may have as well within it. So when we start looking at reporting and visibility, you can see basically what you have planned, which means that this isn't a financial impact at this point. This is more just quantities and working with growers in terms of what products or what programs they may need to apply then towards their field. We also then have a proposal, right? And a proposal then allows you to say, okay, they agreed to the plan. Now we have pricing that we're talking about as part of this conversation. And then finally, once they say, yeah, we've got our plan, our proposal is great, let's move forward with this, we have our contract that we generate with it. And we can classify each of these so that way you can do comparative reporting between your plan, between what the pricing was agreed upon, and then finally between what was contracted and delivered as part of that process. I think, Cody, that's really an important part, right?
It is, and I actually wanted to just about to interrupt you. As a matter of fact, take a step back, and I know we're trying to keep this high level, and this one piece. We talked pricing just very little bit. Scott mentioned, and it's one thing I'd love to show all of you in an individual demo. Is one of the coolest things in my mind that we've done is we've actually, you notice we've got these prices out here, and we got these prices in here. I didn't spend 20 minutes trying to track down my sales manager or get frustrated and call my distributor and recalculate my margin. these prices are already calculated via pricing models within our system. All I had to do was push a button. And so I was able to protect my margin. I was able to, take time, not have to take time away from my manager, and really be able to snappily get these contracts booked and get these prices figured out, which I just think is one of the coolest things we've done.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, all the discounting, all the unit pricing, all the calculations that occur, obviously, like you said, Cody, it really does get down to a push of the button, especially, after you've done that basic setup that's required to really drive this, right?
Exactly.
Yep. Yep. So it's a pretty powerful capability, but the point here is just to reflect, hey, different levels of reporting and visibility are here inside of the business process to really then reflect kind of the information that you're going to need to look at to be able to drill down into that data. And once again, obviously, we can get back to a lot of the related information as well. So if we wanted to be able to see, for example, the different agreement lines that we have, we can get to that information. We can also get back to the account or the operation information. So, in terms of ease of use, this is data typically that could either be entered in from your phone, mobilely, or could even be in the office as well. So all these different roles really come together to put this data into one area that you can then really report off of. So just something to note as we go through this a little bit more in detail.